Welcome, everyone. Good morning. Delighted to have you at Higher Moment Mastermind, your weekly Friday morning pep me up, perk me up around your job search questions. We are excited to have you here. My name is Shira Lotzar. I am with Purposeful Hire. My tagline is "For every hire, there is a higher purpose," and my mission is to help connect job seekers and employers for their higher purpose together. And as such, I'm an association recruiter, a career coach. I help folks with their branding, resume writing, and LinkedIn and networking and interviewing. I'm also the co-founder and volunteer of boomerworks.org. We help individuals 50 plus to re-career into self-employment. If you know of any folks in that category, including yourselves, please check us out. Everything is free for the community. Our guest experts today, Julien Bois, an executive recruiter with accounting and finance. Corliss Jackson, who is all things federal government, resumes and everything else. KiKi L'Italien, who actually should be joining us soon. She's having internet problems this morning, who's a video image consultant. And you may notice that Mike Robinson, who has been with us from the beginning, is notably absent. He just got an assignment in Korea. So depending upon the time difference there, he may or may not be able to join us in the future, but we do hope to have him back soon. So the format for today's discussion, as per usual, please remain muted when you're in the main room and you can post questions in the chat. We will start with the 10-minute breakout. And in that breakout, again, as we've been doing for the last few weeks, please share with your colleagues your group's top question or questions so that when you come back to the main room, you can put it into the chat box. And any power lessons, right? So tips that you have gleaned from your job search current or in the past that you think would be valuable for other people to know about. We'll then have a group discussion, and we actually have one advanced question that we'll toss in today. At the end, at 10 o'clock, we will offer 15-minute speed networking breakout session, which people have found to be very valuable. So please stick around if you can, because you never know where your next connection can be found. Please keep in touch with our Power Networking spreadsheet. So I will be putting that into the chat box. This particular link is just a spreadsheet. You're welcome to put in your name, contact information, what kind of job you're looking for, and then keep in touch with folks. And then the recording of this program will be on my website. Again, I will put that into the chat box. So with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into our breakout rooms. So give me 1 second while I tee that up. Give me a moment here. All right, so make sure to hit your join button so you can go into your join room, your breakout room. Oh, wait a second, actually, this didn't quite work. Let me go do that again, I apologize. Normally works so well. And this one didn't. Sorry, everyone. We had some technical difficulties. All right, looks like I'm going to have to assign everybody manually, so please bear with me. Betsyville and Julie, you should have join buttons somewhere. Hi, Chris. Hopefully, if you want to join a breakout room, hopefully you should see it somewhere in your tab there, but you're certainly welcome to hang out here. All right, I just sent it again, Christopher. Hopefully you'll see it. If not, there should be a, there you go.
something happened.
Yeah, that just automatically, it gives you the opportunity to come back.
Oh, did I screw up?
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, you could have stayed in there a little longer. Everything's closing in about 30 seconds. So when the 60-second countdown comes in, you could either stay in your room for the last 60 seconds or you can come back here.
Well, I
thought
wanted
that
to
was
go back. I was,
Yeah, gives you the option.
Oh, well, somebody will talk when we talk, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I like your glasses, Shira.
Thank you.
I mean, I like my red glasses because I can be a red kind of person. But I need something that actually is pretty and neutral.
I've always liked these. Thank you for the compliment. All right, everyone. Glad you're back. Hopefully that was, hi Jane. Hopefully that was a good supportive encouragement time for you. All right, so here we're gonna get going here with the power lessons. All right, so in your groups, I'd like for you guys to share just a little bit here, just to kind of get the discussion started. What were some of the best tips that you shared with your colleagues around your job search? Things that have worked for you now, things that have worked for you in the past. Love to just kind of kick the conversation off before we get into questions. Who'd like to start?
Sure, we had a power tip that I think somebody was going to share in our group. Was it?
And Shira, we just focused on our question for the group, not our power tip. We didn't do both tasks.
All right, no worries, all good. We'll get to the questions soon. Thanks, Carolyn. Corliss, did somebody want to share the tip from your group, or did you want to share it? You're on mute. Okay.
It was Kelly, but I don't know if that was his first name.
Oh yeah. Hi, Cherie.
Hey, Kelly. Shira.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Good. Yeah. Former Terp. So I just shared, there's a very wide variety of groups, you know, of course, Cherie's group, and there's Career Network Ministry, there's Career Network Support by Rob Jollis. There's a lady named Melanie Woods who has all these ways to improve your LinkedIn pro, all these videos on our website. And the job boards, they're really pretty much spitting in the wind, but you really need to go to your LinkedIn profile, or your LinkedIn connections, and find out who's in those companies, the active recommendation. You know, and on your LinkedIn profile, you want to have business, but also have some personal stuff, and post once a day on something to get your name out there, and of course have that open to work thing on your thing, and you know, just use a wide variety of sources. And there's a great call on Friday evening at 5 o'clock called No More Bad Zoom by Robbie Samuels. He's a Zoom guru. He's phenomenal. He's ground earth. And really the last thing, and I just kind of listen, you know, I've been unemployed since mid-August. And it's really about helping out your fellow human beings and being there for people, and sharing all the knowledge that you have to help people out. And that's the thing I like about Career Network Ministry. Hope you don't mind me doing that plug, but you know, Bob Kay and his group, you know, he came in there 11 years ago. He walked by this Bible study. He walked by this group, and they go, "What is this?" It's our Career Network. Man, we're helping out people get jobs. And since you've been at Verizon, SAIC, and all these places, why don't you help out? And he says, okay. And he's been doing it for over 11 years, and he doesn't get paid, and he gets all these great speakers and people, and it's really about helping each other out, and that's what we're all there for. And they have a accountability group. They meet once a week. You get in a group, and they kind of call you out and try to get you motivated and all that stuff. And I don't know, I can talk for hours,
no,
as you know,
it's
but
great.
You know.
Thank you, Kelly. And yeah, so just as a reminder, guys, at the end of this session, we have a slide that actually has the names and the contact information for all of those groups. So thank you, Kelly, for the shout out. So there's like 5
and one more shout out. You're having a private grouping for people. If you maybe about 10 or less people, if you need some help, she's cut down her prices down, very reasonable, to help people out in more one-on-one coaching for 10 people, and really help each other out. That's it. Yep. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's all about networking. Yes, Susan.
Okay. Whom did he say was reduced their prices?
It's actually me.
Oh.
It's actually,
Yeah, Cherise.
yeah,
Cherise.
he just wanted, I'm gonna be sharing, well, I'm sharing at the end.
She share all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, at the end, I'll be sharing. There's a group I've just started called Higher Focus, and it's only $45 for 90 minutes for those of you who may not have the budget for traditional coaching, but would like some more of a kind of a bit more of a one-on-one. But I'll share more about that later. But thank you, Kelly.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Shira,
That's a deal.
Shira,
That's a deal. That's
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. Jamie, yes.
hi, thanks. I just wanted to jump in with another group that's helping people out that I discovered on LinkedIn called 1000 Hires.
Oh.
It's a gentleman who was laid off in March due to COVID, and he started this initiative called 1000 Hires, and he's basically interviewing 1,000 people, putting their videos out on LinkedIn and sharing and in an effort to get people hired.
Nice.
I participated in one of those interviews this week. So if anybody wants to check me out on LinkedIn, you can see it. He basically asks the same questions of everybody and sends them to you in advance. And
Nice.
and then to build upon, that portion of sort of sharing you with the LinkedIn community, he started a Slack channel that has, so there's about 500 people already that have signed on with him, and there's all kinds of conversations going on and people helping each other and posting positions. And this
Nice.
afternoon he's doing a session that's sort of like, or they're doing a session that's sort of like this one, that I'm going to attend and see if it's, if it's any good. But I guess what I found is that it's very, the people that are part of the group it's a very diverse group of different industries, different types of professionals, different career stages, and there's mentoring opportunities and mentee opportunities. And so anyway, it's my first week really participating in it, but so far it seems like another solid avenue to just diversify your networking.
Terrific. Yeah, this is sort of the theme, I guess, today is all about the networking. It's so true. We've talked about this in our prior sessions, that it's not about the job boards, ladies and gentlemen. It just isn't. It's not about Indeed. It's not about the job boards. Those should only be 10% of your job search max, because once you apply to one of those job boards, you are now part of the masses, right? That employer has literally sent that job announcement to the entire world, and you have likely hundreds of people that you're competing with. And so if you do apply for one of those positions, you still need to network to get yourself an internal champion. And I think this can't be said over enough, right? We've said it almost every week, but we just have to keep saying it, because when that employer sees your resume, again, you're just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You're literally a 2.5 second scan. And if they don't see the right keywords, and they don't see the right formatting, and they don't see what they need, and if your resume gets caught up in the black hole of their applicant tracking system, right, you spent all that time for nothing. And so using LinkedIn to figure out who your internal champion can be by putting in the name of that organization into the search bar in the upper left-hand corner, hit enter. You'll see the people who are there, and then just do a search for whoever it is that you need to meet, whether it's the hiring manager, or whether it's the HR person or the recruiter. You want to make sure that you find who that person is. And if that person's a second level contact to you, look for your first level mutual contact, and then leverage that connection so that you can get noticed by that hiring manager. And try to get to the hiring manager if you can, because that person will push your resume down to HR. Okay, so bears repeating over and over and over again, try to find an internal champion. Betsy, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. I have 2 questions for you.
Sure.
I've heard it said by more than one person that you should have like all these posts on your LinkedIn page. Like I've even heard, 5 posts a week. But I kind of wonder, is that kind of overkill and irritating to your network?
I think I'd answer that question a little differently. All right.
Okay, good.
Rather than the quantity, let's look at the quality. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you posting, and why are you posting it? If you're posting it gratuitously just to sort of be out there, maybe not. That's not going to be as effective.
Yeah.
If you're posting for the purpose of getting noticed by and I'll use this nomenclature, not everybody on the call knows this, tribe and lane, meaning your tribe meaning the industry that you're going after, the lane meaning the profession that you're in, one or the other. You're trying to get noticed and trying to be seen as a credible professional within your tribe or lane, then yes, post. Now, 5 times a day, I don't know about it, right? But if you have something either meaningful to say, or if you come across other people's posts that you want to share by association, you can then be seen as a really credible resource. Okay, so for example, let's say I use this term because a lot of people are trying to get into the environmental space. So let's say you want to work for an environmental nonprofit. What you can do is you can go find posts within that tribe and then share it. Okay, so what you would do is in LinkedIn in the search bar. In fact, I'll go ahead and do a share here and show you guys what I'm talking about. I'm not sure the last time we did this particular tip. Give me a sec. All right, so let's do this one again. So let's say, right, let's say you want to work in the environmental space. Okay, so you would type environmental or clean energy or whatever the topic is. And then when you hit enter, a lot of things will come up. First, the people will come up. But what you can do is you can click on the content button.
Oh, this is
on
great.
content, then what happens is all of the content that other people are posting with the topic of environment shows up. And if you find something that you're interested in, what you can do is you can simply share that post. Okay, so, you know, let's just say it's this particular post, you'd go to the share button, and then you would write a little note as to why you approve of, why you endorse, why you, you know, liked that post. And then hit post, and then what will happen is your name will come up. So their post will be there too, but so will you. So by association, you'll get the credibility, and you can continue to build your brand that way. Okay, so again,
Shira, thank you. That is brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much. I just wanted to also just put in a quick plug. I did do the 40 plus. I know Ken Shopman's here, and it's on your list of resources. I did the 40 plus course, and I thought it was fantastic. And you've done a lot of speaking for them.
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're
thank
on
you,
that
Shira.
slide at the end. Yeah, thanks, Betsy. Great. Okay, so let's go ahead and shift into, unless anyone else has a power tip, let's go ahead and share questions. So Carolyn, did you want to start?
I just have one quick power tip that I did think of, and it's the very first post in the chat. For anybody that wants to practice video interviewing, LinkedIn has an automated link to do that. And I found it to be very helpful.
Terrific. Do you know where that is on LinkedIn?
I put the link up at the very top of the chat.
Okay, great. And if anyone that didn't see it, then I'll let Carolyn know and she can repost. Okay, good. All right, who else has a question before we go to an advanced question? Any other questions coming up?
I have a question. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a question. I've had a couple of interviews, and I'm assuming it's because of my experience. Right off the bat, I get asked the question about what am I asking on my salary desires, and I'm usually it's being asked. Sometimes it's asked right off the bat, so I'm assuming it's probably to weed me out or to determine whether or not I'm overqualified or overpaid or whatever you want to classify it. So I'm looking for some tips on how to handle that, because I don't want to put myself out of the running, but I also want to keep in mind where they are.
Absolutely. So thanks, Nina May, for that question. And we have talked about salary here, and we're going to talk about it again because you brought it up, and we could never talk about it too much. All right. So first of all, before I address your question, I do want to let everybody know that there's a new development in our area. So some of you might have heard me share in the past that there are 17 states in the union that, because of pay equity considerations, are no longer allowed to ask candidates what their salary history is. 17 states in the union. As of October 1st, Maryland has been added to that list. Okay. Now, many employers don't know that this has happened. So if you are applying for a job and the employer is based in Maryland, they technically are not supposed to ask you about salary history. Now, we'll talk about salary expectations in a second, but I want to back up with the salary history piece because a lot of you are asked that question. So without being belligerent or, hey, you probably didn't know this, if somebody asks you about salary history, regardless of whether their laws state that they should or shouldn't, regardless, a very elegant way to pivot from that question is to, so if they say, what is your last salary? If you would prefer not to answer that, you can simply say, well, let me share with you what I'm looking for. I mean, it's the easiest, simplest way to just get them off of what you were making and get them onto what you're looking for. And so to address your question, May, so here's my thoughts on that. And this is a phrase that a lot of you might have heard me say, but bears repeating again, and feel free to jot this down. I'm going to give you a formula. And this formula, this statement should help you to negotiate by putting yourself in a place where you're not overpricing or underpricing yourself, okay? And here's the statement, and there's a blank in there, and I'll tell you how to fill in the blank. So the statement is, when they say, what are you looking for? Say, I'm seeking a total cash compensation package in the, and then there's a blank, tell you what to put in the blank in a second, range. I'm seeking a total cash compensation package in the blank range. Now, that blank should actually not be two numbers. So even though I said the word range, I'll tell you why in a second, but don't put two. Why not put two numbers? Because they're going to give you the lowest number. Of course, that's their job. That's their job. They are trying to be fiscally prudent when they are negotiating salary. So if you ever say to them those two numbers, the chance to get you to the high number, I mean, is almost impossible. So here's what you do want to do. You want to figure out a compensation that hopefully a number, a one number, but I'll give you a slight caveat to that in a second. That is what I call your happy dance number, right? A rah-rah number, but that's also realistic. So if for your level and for your role and for what the market is bearing, you should be kind of in, I'm making just for round numbers, 100,000. Okay, clearly you're not going to put 250 in that blank, obviously. All right. That said, you want to make sure that number is something that it's not going to really sort of throw you out of the running. So let's just say, based upon your history, based upon any research that you've done on Glassdoor, on salary.com, any compensation surveys, talking to colleagues, what people are making for that kind of role, figure out what that top number is. So that could be one number, like 100 or 120 or 150, or if you're in the hundreds or even 200s, and you have some flexibility, what you could do is you could say, I'm seeking a total cash compensation in the low hundreds, mid hundreds, high hundreds, low twos, mid twos, but there's a caveat to that. And here it is. It all depends on where you fall in that range. So for example, if your ideal is 120, okay, would not say I'm seeking a total cash comp package in the low 100s. Why? Because what's the low of low 100s? 100. Okay. Yeah. On the other hand, if your happy dance number is 135 or 140, you could say mid 150 because the bottom of the 150s is actually your top. Okay. So you have to be a little bit careful about it. And then if the employer comes back and they say, well, you're above our range. Okay. If they say that, then you can say, as I mentioned, I'm seeking a total package. So what can we do to either get closer to that number, but also can we talk about benefits? And that's the time that you can actually get into a benefits conversation. If your top is higher than their top, then they'll give you the opportunity to say, do you have any flexibility? And that's the way to negotiate it. But please, 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 for your sake, do not give two numbers, and go for a little higher than maybe what you would normally expect, because you can always negotiate down, but you can't negotiate up. Okay. Hope that helps. Julian, I know you're in our space as well. Is there any? I know we've had this conversation back and forth, but if you want to add any of your own tips, I'm sure everybody would love to hear.
Well, just know that question is coming, regardless if it's at the beginning or the end. So whether it's a screening question or not, or an interest question, as I call it, towards the end, just know that it's coming. So to Shira's point, do your research and make sure that you know what that position pays in the market, not what you think you should get paid, but really what are the duties, etc. It's hard to do. I will tell you, a lot of salary surveys are 6 months old, and they're no longer in a dynamic market like this. You can't really rely on it. You can use that number if you want, but I wouldn't. The best is to find a dynamic survey that's being sort of ongoing. So I'm not a big fan of relying on salary or Indeed salary, but the best way, honestly, is to ask people who are doing the same thing. I know it sounds like a little hard. Or if you have a recruiter, like me, and you trust them, you can ask them, say, look, and if, of course, there should be a good advocate for you and a friend, they shouldn't fear sharing with you what they've seen recently in terms of salary for a particular position.
Great, thanks, Julien. And again, go a little higher. Like whatever you hear, you can always top it off a bit, because you can always negotiate down. And by the way, if the number that you share is way off from the number that so let's say there's a $30,000 delta, you've asked for 120, but they can only pay whatever 90 or something. It's probably not your job anyway. It's good that they actually asked you up front. Then nobody wastes their time. Okay, so it's as much for you as it is for them to make sure that everybody's maximizing their time well. Okay, great. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, any other questions? And Corliss, do we have anything in the chat?
Question about how to get on the radar screen of recruiters or headhunters.
Right. So, and Julien, you can, complement whatever I share here. But look,
So
one easy.
Can you get them proactively and ask them to retain your resumes for possible future opportunities, or do you mostly have to wait for them to contact you directly? Kind of what's the best practice for that?
So there's sort of a both and. First of all, it all depends on the recruiter. Some recruiters are more open to receiving resumes than others. Some recruiters are more open to even possibly having an informational interview with others than others. But for the most part, recruiters get opportunities and get searches and then come and find you. But if you really want to be proactive, connect with them on LinkedIn. Many, I should say. In fact, Julien and I have different approaches to this. Many recruiters are what's called open networkers. I happen to be one of them, where I use LinkedIn as my database, right? So whenever people want to connect with me, if they seem somehow in my world, I'll take them in. Someone like Julien is much more careful, and he tries to meet people, right? So everybody's a little different. But what you can do is go to the search bar in LinkedIn, and you can type in recruiter, but then whatever kind of field, whatever tribe or lane you're in. So again, environmental recruiter, technical recruiter, association recruiter, anything like that, to see if you can find recruiters who are in your space. If you do, feel free to reach out and connect with them. Putting in a personal note always helps. I'm not guaranteeing they're going to accept it, but there's a likelihood that they will if they're an open networker, and at least you'd be in their LinkedIn database. As far as sending your resume to them proactively, you're certainly welcome to, no law against it. Will they respond to you? Maybe yes, maybe no. Will they keep it? Maybe yes, maybe no, but you are certainly welcome to reach out. Julien, did you want to complement that with any other thoughts?
Well, in the recruiting world, just like in the regular world, there are givers and there are takers. And I would, I happen to, as Shira says, I manage my network very tightly, because at the end of the day, I know I am a giver, but I can only have so many conversations a day. So, I try to give to people who are like-minded, who are givers themselves. That's what I ask my network. I'm willing to give, but you have to pay it forward. And if you are finding that person, then they say, yeah, come in my network, then I recommend at least a quarterly touch and share with them what you've seen, and they will share with you what they've seen. So I guess it's kind of a holistic approach, but a naive approach, I don't know. But honestly, it works. I think that's the best way to work. You need to find a trusted advisor who's willing to share with you. If they're takers, they're interested in just making a fee out of you, I would just pass. And the best way to weed that out, obviously, is we all have an internal radar, But the best way is to ask people who have worked with that person before and say, what are they like to work with?
Yeah, so there's definitely different approaches here. You can go with sort of that more relational approach. Again, you could also go with the, just reaching out and seeing if they'll accept you in their network. I think all of it works, right? It just depends on you, but yeah, getting on the radar of recruiters is important if you want them to keep you, in mind. All right, any other questions, Corliss, in the chat? Okay, so we did have a question in advance, and the question, someone filled out the questionnaire, and it says, once you have been deemed, quote, eligible, is there a way to solidify an interview/appointment? I always get notifications that I'm eligible, but I never hear back anything positive. And that term eligible usually is ascribed used in the federal government. So Corliss is our federal government expert. Do you want to handle that for us, Corliss?
Absolutely. So, and I think this probably stands true in the corporate sector as well, but there's nothing that, there's nothing against you following up. And I think you should do it in intervals that make sense. Like, you don't want to crowd somebody, but you definitely want to be available. But I think a lot of energy should be focused on other aspects of the job search. So, following up is good. There's really nothing in the federal government that you can do if you're deemed eligible to move yourself forward. If they want to get a hold of you, they definitely will. I'm not really sure who submitted that question, but the term eligible, you have to be eligible and referred. That would be the term. So it's called either best qualified or eligible and referred. If you're found to be eligible, you don't move forward. So you have to, there's 3 tiers, if you will. There's not eligible, there's eligible, not referred, and then there's eligible, referred. So in the federal sector, you have to be in that cream of the crop, that top tier, if you will. So I don't know if you want to add to that, Shira or Julien.
Yeah, and again, federal government's very specific in the language that they use. That's why I figured that's maybe where the person was coming from. But if it's in the private sector, I think it just goes right back to the conversation that we had earlier around getting yourself referred in and recommended in. Finding an internal champion is kind of the way to get back on someone's radar, on the recruiter's radar, because otherwise, again, you're just a piece of paper. But if someone can say, look, I want to refer this person in, I've heard about this individual, getting that recruiter to notice you is sort of the best way to go. But otherwise, not much else you can do. There was a question, I think I saw, Corliss, am I saying this correctly, that we want to know how to handle a virtual panel interview with 11 people?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the question is, can you hear me? The question is, how do you prepare for a panel interview with 11 interviewers? And I'm assuming this is virtual.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on Zoom. Yeah.
Okay. And that also, Jamie, because knowing what you're looking for, you're obviously in the private sector. Because Corliss, I'd love for you to handle this one for the federal government too. And yeah. Julien, actually, let me let you start first, if that's okay, and then I'll backdoor into it. Would you mind handling this one for the moment, Julien? Do you want to grab this one first?
Sorry, sorry, it was cut out. Well, if you're having a panel interview with 11 people, there is no way you can connect with all 11 people. And there usually is a team lead. If there is not, it's going to be chaotic. So just know that I've recently seen some failed attempt to that. So just for you to be aware of that they might not be as organized as what you think, so that you're not taken off guard. And then actually take that opportunity to lead yourself. That will show that you can take charge of things without being, pushy. You say, okay, well, what about, I tell you a little bit about myself, my story, develop your story, and I'd love to hear about you as well. Obviously, with 11 people, it's going to be very, very tough to connect with everyone in person.
And at the same time, and this maybe goes without saying, do your research on every single person, right? So that if there is an opportunity for you to bond with that person directly, then you'll have the opportunity to do it, right? And by the way, not for nothing, one of the advantages of actually having a Zoom interview, for those of you who don't know, is that you can have your you can have all your information behind the scenes with Zoom so that you can reference it very quickly. And let me just on a technical note, because I know we have very different levels of Zoomers here. So if you ever want to elegantly access any documentation on your computer while you're on Zoom, all you need to do is as follows. When you're on your Zoom screen, in fact, you could do it right this minute. Okay, you could try it out. In the upper right-hand corner of your Zoom page, in the white bar, there's a minimize button, that little dash. You click on that, the picture is going to turn into like a little 2x2 box. You would move that picture, that little square, underneath your webcam. And now all of a sudden you have access to everything else on your computer. And so when you are in your interview, if you want to quickly reference anybody's background, have all of their LinkedIn pages up on your internet, right? So you can kind of tap and click and say, oh yeah, and so I noticed that your background was such and such, or that you do such and such. If you need a really quick reference, you can have that kind of at your fingertips. But I would do your research such that not only because of their background, but especially if that person in their LinkedIn profile puts their responsibilities, what they do, superpowers, what have you. If you're trying to connect with them as a team member, and if you're trying to show yourself as a valuable resource to them, what you could do is say, look, so-and-so, I noticed in your LinkedIn profile, you talked that one of the focuses of your role is X. How can we partner on that more? How can I help advance, your mission or your agenda within your department? In other words, just really try to make a personal connection, not to say, to Julian's point, because it's 11 people that you will be able to, but if there's an opening in the conversation, have done your research so that you can jump in if needed. Is that helpful?
Can I
one
jump in?
practical
Can I jump
point
in?
on
I can share one thing is try to connect with all those people if you can and politely send them all a note, and B, do all your research about the company, and C, just be natural. Don't be all nervous and just have all your stuff there. And if you can get 2 screens, I have like 3 screens actually, and have the other stuff on the other side, and really, and don't like read from a script because they'll see that, but just act natural and understand your stuff and really just and pray. Thanks.
Okay. Jamie, did you want to share anything else?
No,
sorry.
I was just going to say this is very, very helpful. I appreciate it. I have found that interviewing on Zoom is I actually like it more than interviewing in person, and I'm a super people person. So I always set up my Zoom on like one side of the screen, and I have like my OneNote with all my prep material on the other side, and I can also take notes.
Yes.
I can't write during an interview.
Right.
My mind doesn't walk and chew gum that way, where I can listen and write, but I can listen and type, no problem.
Yeah.
So I've actually had a lot of success, or I feel more confident actually interviewing on Zoom. But to the point of chaos, it's their entire search committee. That's who I'm interviewing with. And so I'm hopeful that it won't be chaos. I'm hopeful that they have an outlined plan for it. And if it is chaos, that tells me a little something about the organization too, and potentially a little red flag there.
Sorry, Julian, you've been trying to say something.
I was going to say 2 things, but one is if you have that large panel interview, they're testing your presentation skills. So I'm just saying that be ready to have your story ready, to be in a presentation mode, so to speak. The other thing is a quick tip, because as you probably have seen, Zoom is sort of on the decline on the corporate side, and Teams is taking over. Excuse me. So when you have a Teams meeting, I would put, if you have that many people and you're doing a presentation, put it on together mode, because then everybody shows up in sort of a amphitheater, kind of like when we were in college back in the days. And that way you can see everyone in a very short area.
I would just add to that very quickly, and we're looking at the time, Shira, it's 10:05, but when you're doing your research, there might be an opportunity for you to figure out who might be, the 3 or 4 folks that you do want to connect with, because, for example, maybe it's the hiring manager or some aspect of what they do that might be a little bit more beneficial than the other folks. So you can kind of weed out, but you can only do that if you do the research.
Excellent. Thank you.
I will be researching. Thank you.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and pivot here. We're about to get into our breakout groups, but before we do, because I know not everybody will be able to stay for that. First of all, just wanted to remind you of how to get in touch with the four of us. If you need additional support, questions, what have you, feel free to take a screenshot of this page. And also to the earlier comments about the other job seeker groups in the area, here's a list of all of them, at least here in the DC area, but because of COVID, right, most everybody's doing everything on Zoom. So if you're out of the area, you're welcome to join in. Career Gateway, everything here is free except for Career Gateway. That is starting on November 9th via Zoom, and that's $75 for a week-long career boot camp. And it's specifically designed for professionals age 50 plus. And then Kelly mentioned this higher focus group that I just started. And this is, again, an affordable group coaching offering that I'm presenting to all of you. And I started this because I had a lot of folks who came to me privately and wanted to do one-on-one coaching. It really wasn't in their budget. And so now it's just $45 for 90 minutes, limited to 10 individuals. So you're welcome to sign up for that. I always like to kind of end with an inspirational quote here from the Bible. Now, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance for what we do not see. So by faith, you can go ahead and pursue everything that you're doing, especially in your job search, because God really wants to help you. But if you can see it, it's not faith. So if it's not right in front of you, tap into your faith for what you need. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and go into speed networking. And this is not only about tips and so forth, but really for you to share with your colleagues what you are doing, what you are looking for, what's your tribe, what's your lane. Do you have any connections for other people? This is a really, really powerful time to make sure that you are, tapping in, finding resources, but giving resources. Julien talked about that earlier. Be a go-giver, right? Not a go-taker. So this is a great opportunity to share your resources with others. And so we're going to go ahead and get into that in just a second here. So give me a moment.
Shira, would you please paste in the chat your speed, your networking spreadsheet link?
Yeah,
I didn't write it down fast enough.
Yeah, for sure. Let me go ahead and so everything's here. So this power networking spreadsheet, the post-session recording, and also higher focus is all in there. All right, so
It's up at the top.
yep, it's in both places.
Yep.
Okay, so here we go. We're going to put everybody into rooms for 15 minutes.
Hey, Shira,
Yep,
I'm sorry I botched your name.
that's okay. No worries.
Yeah, and I hope I'm not talking too much.
That's all good.
Okay.
Skylar and Scott and Bill, hopefully you've seen that there's a breakout room here for you. Okay.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. Did you see your breakout room?
Oh, it just like kicked me out of the breakout room.
It did? Oh, let me just put you.
Oh wait, never mind.
You see it? Good. Hey, Bill, just want to make sure you saw your breakout room.